our caregiver support group meeting, which takes place at Roseview Manor. And this is our third meeting together as a group. So far we've talked about the life of a caregiver, and we also talked about stress and coping. And we thought we would talk about communication today. And I have two parts to the discussion to focus on, because I think one area we wanted to talk about was advocacy, but I think this group already advocates very well. So I thought we would spend a half hour talking on the advocacy piece, and also something called the 7 A's, because that is important information, because it will help you in communication with your loved ones. When you have someone who's in a dementing process, and dementia means the mind moving away from the body, so that's really what's meant by that. When you have someone who is moving through dementia, they're having problems with thinking, understanding, and remembering. And so often, for a person to be able to express themselves, then they have to sometimes do it through their mood and their behavior, because if I can't tell you what my needs are or how I'm feeling, it's going to find expression in some other way, and often that's through behavior. So I think the 7 A's are really important, because they talk about intellectual deficits that people have, changes in the brain, and how it impacts their ability to communicate, and what sort of goes on in that process. And then I have another sheet that will help us strategize about how to communicate. So the first A is amnesia, which is exactly that. It means loss of memory. So at first, a short-term memory can be lost, and eventually long-term memory also becomes affected. So the first memories in are the last ones out, because they're our early memories. And so that's why you may see someone wanting to talk about past events, because that's what they can recall easiest. And a person with short-term memory may not remember what was said, and that's why we often hear someone who repeats questions or statements. Have you witnessed that? Have you seen that?
Yes.
That's because a moment ago they forgot that they made the same request. So that's why you see that behavior. And so I think it's really good for us to talk about some of these things, because we often think it's willful, or we blame the person, but really what this does, it helps highlight behaviors from the point of view of the person that's experiencing them. So that's amnesia. And so they may only have access to long-term memories or things that happened a long time ago. But make no mistake, the person with dementia is living in the present. They're very much living in the moment. But they may be recalling an earlier time, or maybe thinking of themselves as being, 30 years old. And so often we see that happening for individuals. But it's good to think of the brain this way. This is sort of instinctual brain. It's our early brain, and then emotional brain gets laid down, and then on top of that is thinking brain. And so if you think of our memories sort of as an onion with layers to it, again, the earliest memories that we have are the last ones out, so they're very deep. Yes, that's right. That's right, Peter.
Is that what it is?
Yes. And so the last memories that are laid down, so it might be a grandchild or a great-grandchild, the person may easily forget who that person is, because they have low experience with that person. So that's why you might see some behaviors that way. Apathy is when a person appears to be depressed or simply uninterested in activities. The person loses that startup button, that initiative to be engaged in their environment. They don't have that spontaneity anymore. But if you take that person to an area or to an activity, they will participate. And so they need to be helped to get started or helped to initiate something. And so we call that a type of apathy, because the part of the brain that controls initiation of activity is damaged. And it's damaged to the point where the person may not do anything at all.
That's the way my wife is now.
Okay.
She doesn't want to take part in anything.
Right. So you've seen this type
Yes,
of apathy.
definitely, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think it's good that you have some of this information then, because then you know what behavior often is a function of. The next one is aphasia, which means loss of language, and it's loss of structural language, so the ability to speak and also the ability to understand what's being said. And so I think that must be very frightening for individuals. Yes, because, you know, if I can't get my needs met, how am I going to do that? And again, the brain, you know, it's going from that thinking brain to more emotional brain to instinctual brain, and so that's why you see certain behaviors where people, you know, almost want to guarantee their own survival. So they want to be the person that's fed first, and you know they want, you know, they make their demands known through behavior. So again, the person may have trouble thinking of the word they would like to use, or they may mix up their words sort of in a word salad, and difficulty understanding what other people are saying can lead to misunderstandings as well. And I actually saw that in my own, you know, my mother-in-law was in long-term care, and so she had a set of table mates, and we thought that would be good for her, but in fact it was very difficult because she couldn't hear well, so she felt badly about, you know, missing the conversation, not being able to fill in the blanks, and eventually she thought, you know, people were, you know, talking about her, and really that wasn't the case. But you know, the challenge is there's so many deficits that conversation gets missed.
Well, how does that individual, the loss of language can include both speaking and understanding others? What really are you talking about? Just one word? You're in a sentence and you're making a joke, and all of a sudden the joke is gone. And so now everybody's waiting there for the punchline, but it ain't coming because I forgot. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, sometimes people lose entire language if they've had a stroke, for instance, or sometimes people just, you know, their words become jumbled, they can't find the right word, and so they, you know, they may express themselves another way. I know we had a lady that was on our reactivation service, and she couldn't get the words out, but she wanted something every day, and we really had to puzzle and you know, think about what it was she was asking for, because the staff would get her up, get her dressed, ready for the day, and she'd be in a wheelchair, and she'd be going, feed, feed, feed. And so finally, we did tune in to what she was asking for, and she was asking for a particular pair of shoes that she wanted. But she knew what she wanted in the course of all that, but she couldn't get the right word.